always startles me, I'm sorry. I would like to call the Royal Oak Schools regular board meeting of November 9th, 2023 to order. As we stand to do the Pledge of Allegiance, just all of us perhaps to think of somebody special that we know that's a veteran today, or somebody that's serving today as we do the pledge. Thank you. I did want to make one more quick statement. Just as November 11th is Veterans Day, and on this day we remember the sacrifices of all those who have served and continue to serve and are grateful for the freedoms that they protect. Moving on, number 3, standing approval items. 3.1, acceptance of the agenda. Do we have any additions or deletions? Seeing none, agenda passes. Approved by consent. 3.2, approval of minutes. Do I have a recommendation? Mrs. Haynes?
There we go. Resolved that the Royal Oak Schools Board of Education approves the following minutes. October 5th, 2023, special meeting minutes for Facilities and Finance. October 12th, 2023, regular meeting minutes. And October 26th, 2023, special meeting minutes workshop.
Can I have a second? Mrs. Anderson? Can we have a roll call, please?
Trustee Jasinski?
Yes.
Trustee Haynes?
Yes.
Trustee Cook?
Yes.
I'll vote yes. Trustee Van Heinsma?
Yes.
The motion passes.
Thank you. Proclamations and recognitions, number 4, 4.1, donations. Mrs. Fitzpatrick?
Thank you very much. First, we just want to recognize the Woodward Corner Market for their substantial and very generous donation to our Blessings in a Backpack program that serves students who are food insecure on weekends and holidays in our district. Blessings in a Backpack is also a program that's run by the Royal Oak Rotary. And so at a recent meeting, the Meyer folks came and presented a giant foam check to the Rotary Club that's been on our social media. And we just wanted to take time at our board meeting to recognize this donation from Meyer to the Rotary for Blessings. I believe the check will, the amount of the money will cover over 2 months worth of food that's necessary to pack the bags, and we're close to 200 bags of food that go home every weekend. So again, just thank you to our community partner, the Woodward Corner Market, for selecting Blessings as the recipient of one of their donations this year.
Thank you. Can I have a recommendation? Mrs. Haynes?
Resolved that the Royal Oak Schools Board of Education gratefully accepts the no? Is that the right one?
Please hold. Sorry. Mrs. Fitzpatrick, sorry.
That's okay. The funds from Woodward Corner Market go straight to Blessings, so that item was really just for our recognition. However, we do have a recommendation. We received another $1,000 check from an anonymous donor, and they do ask that the money be given to the Level 3 Special Education Program at Royal Oak Middle School. And so the recommendation before you tonight is to accept that donation on behalf of our program.
Okay. Thank you, Mrs. Haynes.
Okay, to continue. Resolved that the Royal Oak Schools Board of Education gratefully accepts the following donation as presented. Anonymous for $1,000 to ROM's Level 3 SE program.
Thank you. Can I have a second? Ms. Jasinski, can we have a roll call, please?
Trustee Haynes?
Yes.
Trustee Cook?
Yes.
I will vote yes, very gratefully. Trustee Van Heinsma?
Yes.
Trustee Jasinski?
Yes.
The motion passes, and thank you to our anonymous donor.
We're grateful because we get an anonymous donation. Is it almost every month or pretty frequently? So thank you to Anonymous. 4.2, Board Proclamation, National Native American Heritage Month. Mrs. Cook.
Whereas in 1990, Congress requested that President Bush designate November as National Native American Heritage Month in recognition of the rich history and culture of the country's native population. And whereas, since 1995, Presidents Clinton, George W. Bush, Obama, and Trump have issued annual proclamations which designate November as National American Indian Heritage Month, known since 2009 as National Native American Heritage Month, or more commonly as American Indian and Alaska Heritage Month. And whereas we are aware of the historical importance of local and national tribes and the way Native Americans continue to enrich our heritage and add to all aspects of our society by sharing their customs and traditions. And whereas we honor our Native people, their ancestral homes, their religion, and recognize their contributions historically, today, and in the future of our community. Be it resolved that the Royal Oak Schools Board of Education proclaims that the month of November is recognized as National Native American Heritage Month in Royal Oak Schools, and strongly encourages our staff and community members to observe, recognize, and celebrate the culture, heritage, traditions, languages, and stories of Native Americans and ensure their rich histories and contributions can thrive with each passing generation.
Thank you. Can I have a second? Mrs. Haynes? Can we have a roll call, please?
Trustee Cook?
Yes.
I'll vote yes. Trustee Van Heitzel?
Yes.
Trustee Jacinski?
Yes.
Trustee Haynes?
Yes.
And the motion passes.
Thank you. We're up to item number 5, public comment. If you would like to make a public comment, a person may address the board on an agenda or non-agenda item by completing a note card located inside the boardroom and place the card in the basket prior to the citizen public comment period. Each speaker is limited to 3 minutes. If you need more time, you are offered a second opportunity to address the board at the end of the meeting with an additional 3 minutes. Please address the board as a whole and not individually. Public comment is not intended for the exchange of dialogue. This is a time for members of the public to express their views. We are paying attention to your comments and appreciate them. However, school board members do not respond to public comment during the meeting. Questions that arise from public comment shall be referred to the superintendent or their designee for review, study, and possible future response. Thank you in advance for your cooperation. I would like to call up Jamie Porhola.
Good evening, school board members. We are Brent and Jamie Porhola, parents. We are Brent. That's okay. Okay. We are Brent and Jamie Porhola, parents to 4 amazing boys, all who attend school here at Royal Oak. Our oldest, Hunter, is a 6th grader at the middle school, and our middle children are twins, Colton and Cooper, who are 4th graders at Adams, along with our youngest child, who is in DK. We are here today to address a few major issues that we are having with our school district, specifically with the middle school. Hunter is a 6th grader, and he has autism, a world we've been navigating since he was diagnosed at age 5. If we had endless time to talk, I could go on and on about what our family has had to overcome throughout the 11, almost 12 years that we've spent as parents so far. Hardship, the trauma, the adversity, the post-traumatic stress, but not to say that we haven't come out triumphant with the many challenges and diagnoses that we have faced. I never thought I would have to come here to a school board meeting to address and make everyone aware of what I consider complete and utter lack of programming and support for the kids with autism at middle school. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that there isn't good programming for some of the kids, but it should be much better for all kids. At the elementary level, there is 2 types of programming available. 1, an resource ASD room, and 2, a self-contained autism classroom. Our son Hunter has been in the resource ASD classroom since 1st grade, having the opportunity to spend most of his days in general education classes, but also has the resource side of things. With him being able to help with that being able to help with his assignments, or when we're just not having a good day, or when we've needed to take breaks periodically throughout the day. A room to go to when sometimes the gen ed classes were a little too loud, or we weren't able to focus and get our work done correctly. Having that as an option for our son has been one of the best things for him. He has been able to have that inclusion of being around his peers and learning with everyone, but it also was a necessary means to have that resource room. Because while we are making it one of our biggest goals with school to have as much independence as possible, which will come, but at a slower growing pace, we still needed that oversight that his teacher was able to provide for him throughout the entire day, along with his parapro. Oversight. I can't say that word enough. That programming option we had worked for our son and was beyond a success for him, giving him the best possible learning opportunities. At middle school, there is only one option and one teacher that was available for the autism programming, a self-contained ASD teacher. A teacher who has a classroom of 5 students that she teaches academic classes to, with 3 para supports in, 1 for half a day and 1 for 1 hour of the day. My mind was blown when they told us that the then ASD teacher, Miss Blake, was going to become my son's caseload manager, and that for 1 hour a day he would have what we called academic support. 1 hour, first hour of the day, to go over any missing or incomplete work for the other 5 hours of classes that he has, also with no other oversight in his classes. My child does not need constant para support throughout the whole entire day. He is able to navigate the school, getting into us from his classes, and for the most part, complete smaller, less demanding assignments. But make no mistake, there is a need to have prompting and stay on task, and make sure that the work is getting done correctly and with comprehension. What I quickly learned is that our public school system was failing my child with special needs. The lack of support and programming available for the kids at middle school is absolutely ridiculous. How shameful we should feel that we don't have more than one ASD teacher available, that we spread these children out to be managed with titles of caseload managers or simply having parapro support. There is never not a need to have more oversight when it comes to any child with special needs. I'm sick and tired of reading the words.
Excuse me, I hate to interrupt. Can you wrap up your comments?
I mean, I guess.
There is a second public comment as well.
I mean, yeah. I mean, yeah.
We allow 3 minutes and then a second 3 minutes at the end.
Okay. I
mean,
mean, I guess
if-
I can finish up then, but yeah.
You-
I mean, it's just to address the,
Thank you. You can, yeah.
I'm sorry, what? Okay. I'm sick and tired of reading the words that get sent out in monthly emails about how our district is always looking to support our students, staff, and teachers. Our DEI program, Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, when I read on it, I'm never reading about how we as a district look to make our special education department better, how we can improve programming to make sure that maybe once what wasn't needed is there now, that once children transition to middle school and high school, programming looks similar as it did to the prior school. So we don't let these children fall behind like my son currently is, because we all know that autism is on the rise. So there will always be a continuous need to look at what programming we have going on at all levels and what we can do to make improvements. Because as far as I'm concerned, the children who need it the most in our district are getting it the least. I can't help but feel like there's such a lack of teachers available because our district would rather be open and have overcrowded schools than spacing available throughout the building to add on the classes as seen fit. For example, another ASD room or another special education room. I mean, then I can finish the rest if you guys want to move on.
We can also take the rest of your statement too if you have it in print.
I do. Okay.
Thank you.
I'll come back at the end.
Thank you. Lydia Elshakrina.
Hi, my name is Lydia Al-Shakarna. I'd like to start off by thanking the board member. He he isn't here tonight, but thanking the one board member who showed up to our last PAC meeting. I truly appreciate it. It meant a lot to the parents that he took the time out of his schedule to come and spend time with us at the Parent Advisory Committee meeting. I have 2 children enrolled in Royal Oak. My oldest son, Ibrahim, started off his educational career in Southfield, early childhood education. Throughout the course of our time in Southfield, he had a number of IEP meetings where there were about 4 or 5 people who would show up. I didn't know it at the time, but I would come to find out that that was a violation, inadequate services. So we moved to Royal Oak. I came back home. I'm from Royal Oak. I grew up in this district. A lot of the people here tonight are my former teachers. My former teacher is now one of my son's principals. I'm saying all of this to say that I know what it's like to receive inadequate special education services, and I don't want that to happen in Royal Oak, and I see that happening very swiftly. Over the course of the 5 years, going on 5 years that we've been here, 4 of Ibrahim's teachers out of 5 have resigned. In contrast, my other son, Hamza, 4 out of 5 of his teachers are still here in the district. Only one of them resigned. She retired because she had a long and excellent teaching career. So there's a problem here. I mean, the turnover, not only just with the teachers, but with the support staff, the OTs, the SLTs, they're coming and going at an alarming rate. And I was just informed that one of the teachers who, since the last board meeting, another ASD teacher has now resigned. One that just came on I remember when she was hired 2 years ago. And so it's gonna be difficult to find these replacements, and when we do, what are we gonna be doing to fix the issue and retain them? Because us as parents, my son is completely nonverbal. I rely heavily on the communication between his teacher and I, and that relationship, and to have them come and go at such an alarming rate, it's really disturbing. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. Moving on to item number 6.1, Michigan Heart Safe School Award. Mrs. Fitzpatrick.
Thank you very much. I'd like to call up Principal of Oak Ridge Elementary, Jason Parrott, and Principal of Oakland Elementary, Jason Taylor. I'll also allow them to introduce their guests they brought with them this evening. This is a special recognition for the My Heart Safe School Award that they have both received. Dr. Parrott.
Hi, I'm Jason Parrott. I'm the principal at Oak Ridge Elementary, and this is Jason Taylor, principal at Oakland Elementary. And we have with us Jen Shea, who is from Beaumont, who performed our training and helped us to receive this award. So in April and May, both Oakland and Oak Ridge took part in the Michigan Heart Safe Schools awarding process. It ends with doing an AED drill with our CPR team. To explain the overall process, we brought Jen with us because she's way better at it than we are. So here she is.
Hello, thank you for giving me the chance to be here today. I'm really proud of these 2 elementary schools for working really hard this year to gain their designation. Royal Oak High School and I believe Upton also have theirs. I might be wrong about Upton, but either way, there are other schools, though, we want to make sure work on this throughout the year. So the reason why this is important is because in Michigan, schools aren't even required to have an AED on campus, nor are they required to practice what to do when someone has a cardiac arrest on campus. We have 5 fire drills we have to do, and the last time a child died in school because of fire was in 1927, almost 100 years ago, when a school was blown up. So it's completely like something that we practice a lot, but each year we have 30 people in Michigan schools that have a cardiac arrest. And so that practice and response time is so important, because if you're not prepared and you don't have the right equipment and the equipment's not updated, then those minutes tick away, and it's less likely for someone to survive that. And so it really makes me happy when schools reach out and ask for assistance with that. So that starts with making sure you have a cardiac emergency response team that are trained in CPR, know where all the AEDs are and that those AEDs are being maintained, and that you have a plan that the whole school knows about. So every teacher is told what the plan is and how to identify when there's a problem quickly in order to get the team to the location of the problem. And then we do an AED drill, which is where we practice what it looks like to come across somebody that might have collapsed, and how quickly can you get there with that AED, and do you start CPR right away? And so they both did a great job gathering their teams, working on their plans, teaching their whole staff what to do, and completed their AED drills, and then were awarded the Michigan Heart Safe designation this year. So I want to commend them both for working on that, because it's so important for our community to have a safe place and to have people prepared when they're in that building. So that's it, really. So they each get a banner to hang on the wall. It's good for 3 years, and each year we'll still do another AED drill because we want to keep practicing. But this is what they look like. An excellent job. So, yeah. And I encourage all Royal Oak schools to work on being Heart Safe designated, and I'm happy to help them with that designation. Yes. Yep.
Thank you.
I'll wrap that one up.
Okay. That'll work. You wanna- all right.
So a quick sidebar, Jen and our kids do a lot of sports together, and one of the things that you're supposed to do is recognize an AED when you walk into the building. So every time we walk into a building together, I always point them out for hers.
Oh.
So ours is down the hall, by the way, in case you guys didn't know.
But there's no sign, so you can't tell it's there. So we do need to get a sign for you.
She probably has one in her
It's
car.
hidden behind a pillar, and nobody would have any idea where it's at, so we need to identify him well.
Is there any questions for us? Yes.
In order for this designation, how many people in the staff need to be trained on the AEDs?
It's 4, right?
So it's, in the designation, it requires that 10% of staff of the whole school are certified, and that every PE teacher is certified for the elementary level. And so it just depends. If you say you have 30 staff, then 3 people.
That's full-time staff.
That's full-time staff. So it's not really that, you want to have enough people that if someone's gone for a field trip or whatever, that there's still other people in the building. And we try to make sure it's kind of a diverse group for that.
And I think a lot of our certifications have to be renewed every couple of years. And
Yep.
the Royal ROPD and Royal Oak Fire Department has offered to partner with us to make sure that people maintain their certifications.
Yeah. So all of our PE staff in the district are trained, and then for my building, we have the office staff trained, including myself. So my secretaries and then me are also trained.
We have more of a team of teachers that are more around the building.
Mrs. Patrick?
Thank you. I know we have at least one other school that's also certified, but one of the things that I noticed that you mentioned the sign is that at Oak Ridge, on your front door, it indeed says where the AED is located, and there's some arrows and some other things, and the signage is there. And part of our safety plan in all of our buildings is that staff know where the AEDs are, but to your point, when the general public is in a building and would need to access it, which often happens with events in the evenings and weekends, the signage would definitely help, so we'll work on that. But we are also proud to say that we do have them in all of our schools and buildings, and they are maintained regularly with a contract that we have with a third-party provider to make sure they're up-to-date charged. And I know they've been recently updated to a different type. There's a new style out now that we have in-house, right?
Yes, and I have a sign I'll bring a sign in for you.
Thank you.
Just stick it on the wall, we'll be all good. So.
Thank you both.
Any other questions? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you and congratulations. 6.2, we have MSCA 2024 Administrator of the Year Award.
Thank you very much. At this time, I'd like to call up the principal of Royal Oak Middle School, Kristen Meldrum. Stand up for you. So we learned that the counseling staff at ROMS had nominated Ms. Meldrum for an award through their state organization. And I'd like to read just a little bit about what that award means and what some of the staff had to say. And so for the school year, Ms. Meldrum advocated for and worked with our team here at the board office regarding an additional counselor, as well as a general education social worker for ROMS. They've implemented Character Strong and the upstander groups, also things that the students can use at the school while they're there, which is amazing. And our district is learning much more about it. We know that in order to be a new principal, you have a lot to learn. This is only Mrs. Meldrum's second year in our district, came highly recommended from another district to the north of us that I won't name. But her training in Troy and her experience and all that she brought in terms of working with the team at ROMS has certainly paid off for our students, and it's just the beginning. So I want to definitely recognize you for that. Kristen states very clearly that she has goals to support students, especially in the area of discipline, that it's not about consequences and the discipline itself, but rather establishing strong relationships, and our counselors play a vital role in establishing that relationship with students and keeping it ongoing, not only with the children, but the families. I know that Kristen also portrays this same value set with her administrators at the building, both Mr. Henshaw and Mr. Colligan, so I appreciate you for that as well, Kristen. And she's also brought many good ideas to our district level team. We have a little over 30 administrators that serve the entire district here in Royal Oak, and I have to say that having Kristen on our team and being a new member of our team has certainly improved things for all of us that work with her. So her staff was able to surprise her with this award last week at a late start. Got some really cool pictures. We're honoring her tonight and definitely want to give her a chance to say a few words and introduce all the guests she brought with her tonight. Also next week on Tuesday at a state level conference, Mrs. Meldrum will be receiving her award officially at that luncheon, and we're all trying to make our way out to Kalamazoo to do that with you. So I just want to congratulate you. This is such a positive thing for ROMS and positive for our district in general, and much more to come. So again, congratulations and job well done, but not over yet. So.
I was having Michael.
Yes, please.
So this is Mr. Bettman. First of all, thank you. So Mr. Bettman and the counselors were the ones that had put me up for this award without my knowledge. And we had plenty of conversations about that after, but did you want to, I know you had prepared something, so. Thank you.
Few words,
Sure.
if that's okay.
Absolutely. Okay. My nephew agrees.
No, they can be as loud as they want. You don't have to hear me. I appreciate giving me a chance to say a few words. But I want to say that Kristen Meldrum was the 2024 Administrator of the Year for the MSCA, Michigan School Counselor Association. And what actually is that? That's what I want to tell you tonight. The MSCA gives us this award at their fall conference every year to deserving administrators. And this year, when the counselors received that application in our emails, we kind of got together and said, why not Kristen? And we decided, she actually deserves this. So we filled that out. We immediately decided this should be the person we should fill it out for. Since Kristen has been at ROM, she has focused on the mental health of our students, always looking to see what she can do for the students. She's been supporting counselors, social workers, psychologists. Keep on talking, it's good. The support staff at the front line of mental health. She was key in pushing for an additional counselor and social worker, not so much for the extra body in the building, but what they can do to support our students. When counselors came back from last year's conference, last fall, last November, we were excited and talked to her immediately about this Character Strong program, another SEL program that we wanted to get involved in our school. And Kristen did not bat an eye and immediately said, well, let's look into this. And with the help of our other administrators, Mr. Henshaw, Mr. Colligan, and Kristen, believe it or not, almost a year later, we're about to implement this program with our entire staff. And so that tells you what she does when she puts her mind to it. That is one of many examples of why we nominated Mrs. Meldrum for this award, and why next week in the fall, or next Tuesday, she'll be honored for the Administrator of the Year for the counselors. Yeah.
Yes, I will introduce all of the people that joined me today. So we have my husband and my son. This is Jeff and Jeffrey, and it is our 4-year anniversary today. No other place we'd rather be. My in-laws, my wonderful in-laws, Rick and Jan, my mom in the back, my brother, my sister-in-law, and my nephew, all Royal Oak residents, and Kate is pregnant with twin boys, so they're keeping Royal Oak in business for a while. Hi, Case. And then my best friend Jackie, who lives at Kitty Corner House, that's yellow. She's a school counselor as well, and so I think a lot of my passion and drive has started from, we've been best friends since high school, so helping out, and then she's at Troy Athens, so we were able to work together for 3 years. But just what the team has been able to do at Royal Oak Middle School in 1 year has been very wonderful. We ask for a lot, but there's an entire team that gives us a lot. So when we ask for something, we're asking Pat to do the paperwork, we're asking Mary Beth to do the approval, we're asking Joe to come research it with us, we're asking Ben and Ann to vet it for us, we're asking Kathy to pay for it, which is tough. So when we ask for things, we are asking an entire community of people, and everybody has told us yes, and that's why it's been working for us. Our lunchroom program, the community has donated and given thousands of dollars worth of items, and they keep coming in daily, and that's the mental health part for us. Wellness Wednesdays, our counselors have asked for a lot of things, and they've been given a lot of things. We had a mindfulness session yesterday. We have World Kindness Day on Monday. We have Wellness Wednesday every Wednesday. We're putting our Character Strong on Wednesdays to continue that Wellness Wednesday. And we've strengthened our Tier 2 supports through Character Strong as well. So it may look like an individual award, but every single person that we have asked for something has said yes, including our board. So thank you, Mr. Henshaw, for being here today, who's implementing Character Strong with us. But I'm very appreciative, so thank you.
Well, thank you for being here, and thank you for bringing, the city of Royal Oak with you. That's really cool. And congratulations again. And happy anniversary.
Oh, thank you.
I think you have some babysitters available right there for you. Just saying. 6.3, launch into learning event. Dr. Wise?
Yes, thank you. We have Ben Rader here, the supervisor of secondary instruction, and Anna Jovu, supervisor of elementary instruction, here to talk about our launch into learning event, which took place in August. I won't steal their thunder, but I will mention it was one of the largest events that we've had in Royal Oak before. Over 70 participants, our own teachers, shared their learning with our staff, and they're here to talk a little bit more about that and share some highlights.
All right, thanks, Joe. I'm Ben Rader, supervisor of secondary education.
And I'm Anna Jovu, supervisor of elementary education.
And as Joe mentioned, we are here to talk about the Launch into Learning that took place on August 24th. And this is really part of the couple days back as teachers report as they prepare for the school year. And every year we embed some type of professional development into those days. And this year we really designed something we thought was very special. We really went down this path of really wanting to leverage the expertise of the teachers and administrators and the staff that we have in the district, and really take advantage of their expertise and to really leverage that so they could share it out with their peers. So we had really 70 presentations developed by over 90 presenters, and 95% of those were staff, Royal Oak staff. We did have a couple of presentations that were done by outside facilitators. They helped kind of round out some of our offerings, but the vast majority of the offerings were Royal Oak staff. We really, as we set forth, we said, okay, what are some of the core goals or principles that we really want to ask our staff to present on? And some of those things, this isn't totally inclusive, but these are the core things that we asked about. Diversity, equity, inclusion, best practices in a content area, assessment and data literacy, social emotional learning, inquiry-based learning, technology, the IB program, all 3 levels, and formative assessment.
So the planning for this event started way back in the spring. You'll see that the timeline up on the screen as it says. In May, we opened up a request for proposal through a Google form to all of the staff. And it asked them essentially to build out what they envisioned as the session that they would offer to their colleagues, essentially. Once that closed, we started to build our catalog. And what we found is Ben and I were sitting in his office one day, we were mapping out everything that, all of the proposals, and very nicely, we were able to offer many offerings within each of those topics that Ben had just mentioned, but also across all grade levels and content areas. So without even really putting much effort in ourselves, a lot of people, over 70, 90 plus presenters came out and stepped up and provided a very well-rounded program just with themselves. And then through June and July, we linked the course catalog that was created. Let's see if it, oh good. Shana Ramin, who is our full-time instructional technology specialist that we contract through Oakland Schools with, was able to put this very nice spreadsheet together that we would have never been able to do ourselves. And what she did was she took all of the sessions, this was the schedule that we mapped out, and if you clicked into a particular session, it was, all of the opportunities were available. So this was like our course catalog. So when we were able to launch our registration, which we used Sign Up Genius for at the beginning, middle of August, all of the participants were able to come into this catalog, read the different offerings, and then select what they wanted to do through Sign Up Genius. We were tracking that the whole time, all the registrations, and there were few that filled up very, very fast, but still, even to a couple days prior, there were still so many options that were applicable and relevant to people's positions. So once we did that, we were able to come together, and it was a whole staff. Kristen was talking about how it's not just one or two. I mean, we had Mrs. Fitzpatrick and Mrs. Sutterfield were stuffing envelopes for us. It was a full team effort, and we were able to get from our sponsors some new lanyards, name tags, the schedules for pre-registered people were on the back, and the day just unfolded very smoothly. There were a couple of bumps along the way, which we've reflected on, but that was how it came to fruition, and it built itself. The next couple of slides just have a couple of screen shots into the day. This is one of our the offerings. We had a team of occupational therapists present classroom strategies and tools for students with attention difficulties. One thing to emphasize here is that since we were able to offer sessions that were developed and facilitated by our own, we had people in positions that may not have otherwise been able to get in front of people. So this session was was full. There were a ton of people. Actually, all three of us went into this session, and people were just eating it up. And that was the same for many other sessions. We had very good feedback. But this was an opportunity for occupational therapists, in this case, to really show what services they provide and suggestions that they can make based on the expertise that they have in their field. This one is moving beyond the classroom, educational leadership. And the cool thing about this is that, again, very full session of all teachers, staff, and other leaders that want to build their leadership capacity within educational field. And the cool thing about it is that even though this was a session at that day on the 24th, they have actually continued to meet with the participants from this session. I think I've seen 2 meetings now since the beginning of school, and this is after school hours that they come and meet in this room and continue that discussing leadership opportunities and how to build that capacity within. And then this last one, it was getting started with Lumio. These are 2 of our instructional specialists. Linda Burton is our literacy essentials coach, and she partnered with Sheena Ramin, who is our instructional technology specialist, because they were working on some projects for early literacy, teachers in early literacy. And when this opportunity came up, they decided to join together and offer a session to show them different ways that they can leverage our technology to use it in this case, in literacy and education. So we had a lot of very cool offerings with really fantastic facilitators, and you'll see in the next couple slides the feedback. The major feedback that we heard and we witnessed was the session facilitators made the day. That was the bottom line.
Yeah, so we ran a thought exchange and got some really great feedback from teachers, anonymous, so we really trust, the things that they're saying through this process. And once again, like Ann said, over and over again, the stars of the day were the facilitators and the presenters. By and large, our teachers, our staff, our administrators who ran these great sessions. And you can kind of look at some of these great quotes. I love launching the learning. We should do it every year. It's great to learn from colleagues. There's a lot to learn, the expertise right here in the district. It would be great to make this an annual event. Meaningful. I enjoyed pre-registering for events we wanted to learn more about. That is one of the things that I think they really appreciated, that they had time to really be thoughtful about the sessions that they were going to sign up for. So they had a couple of weeks to really, to be thoughtful about that. So the overwhelming, responses were really great and really have us enthused again for running this back next year. We certainly got some feedback about, a lot of it's about the logistics of setting up the day that, we've been reflecting upon, little changes that we can make to make it flow even better next year.
Yeah, but overall, we've labeled this as a great success. We've learned lessons about organizing the day. We're already gearing up for what we can plan for next year. Again, the presenters really were outstanding, and we're looking forward to offering that again. And we continued on this theme this school year as well. A lot of our professional development, our late starts, are just recent. 2 days ago, November 7th, they were continued by facilitated sessions by people in this district. We had a couple outside, but for the most part, we're continuing to leverage the learning from each other, and that's key.
Did you have any questions for us?
Ms. Uszynski? As a classroom teacher who sat through plenty of hours of PD that was, less than relevant, I just think this is such an incredible approach. And as we talk a lot about teacher retention and growth too, like internally, right? I think it's just so brilliant to grow on our resources. Where did this idea come from? Like, are there other districts doing similar things or treating Welcome Back PD, right? Usually Welcome Back PD is just so packaged, and it's like always kind of the same thing. I just think this is such an incredibly vibrant and fresh approach to kick off a year.
We certainly didn't invent this idea. I put something together like this at the high school 15 years ago. We did some mini sessions like this. Ann brought some amazing ideas that she had seen from other experiences that she had in other districts. So anything else you want to add to that?
Yeah, we got a few heads in the room and said, this is an opportunity that this could work, and it did.
So, really proud.
Well, congratulations. I know I've heard a lot of positive feedback. The staff really enjoyed it. And knowing that you're continuing to do this through the year and then planning already for next year, the successes. So it's just kudos. Thank you so much for doing that.
Thank you.
Item 6.4, diversity, equity, and inclusion. Mrs. Fitzpatrick.
Thank you very much. Just wanted to share, and I'll also invite Dr. Yohannes to add if he'd like to, because he meets with the team, but the JEDI group continues to meet with Justice, Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion, which is a steering committee, group of advisors from across parents, We're working to add students to that group and staff members and administrators in the districts, and they do meet regularly to talk about each of those initiatives. I know recently they had a discussion and been building their own mission and vision that aligns with our long-range plan, our strategic plan for the district, as well as taking another dive back into data within our district, which is also something that we should and will be continuing to use to guide decision-making into the future. And so their work as a committee continues. And Dr. Yanis, I don't know if there's anything else you wanted to add about JEDI?
Yeah, real quick, I'm promise I'll make it quick, but part of what we've talked about at our last two meetings is to look more closely at the strategic plan, like Mrs. Fitzpatrick mentioned. Just last night, we spent some time identifying specific strategies within the plan. The strategies support the action plan, which in turn supports the goal, but we focused on specific strategies that we can put a diversity, equity, and inclusion lens on, and then also begin to create goals for our JEDI committee focused on the strategies. So we're excited about that work moving forward.
And also, to that end, we have posted, vetted resumes, and very closely interviewed candidates for a new DEI coordinator for the district. That's a position that the board and our administrative team has prioritized as important. The name coordinator was specifically selected because we have many things going on across the district in DEI work, very intentional work, and we wanted to make sure that at that point then in our learning and our education that we are coordinating our efforts to make sure we don't have gaps and also to ensure that things continue. And it isn't a project, it's the way we think, and it is, as Dr. Ioannis said, the lens that we look through for this work. So I'm very proud to say that we, on the personnel report this evening, and I know Mr. Walensky will mention more, but we are recommending Ashley Phillips, an educator, to be our new DEI coordinator for Royal Oak Schools. She is a woman who has had a lot of experience in that while being a music educator herself. It's been her passion. I know musicians and music teachers are very passionate about their work, and so in her career to make a decision to leave that field, but stay in K-12 education, and now have a different lens to serve children in a community here. We're very fortunate to have her. We are looking forward to having Mrs. Phillips come in December to the board meeting as a formal introduction to meet the board and the community and to also introduce herself to all of us.
Thank you very much. Any questions? Thank you. Moving on to item 6.5, student representatives to the board. Alex and Matthew.
Hello, I'm Matthew Mitzola, one of the student representatives. I represent 12th grade at the high school. I just want to extend another invitation. The board is going to be meeting again with high school students during a lunch sometime in early December. So I just want to recommend, if you're a high school student and you're interested in meeting with the board, if you have any concerns you'd like to address with them, sort of in an informal conversation setting, please look out for that sign up. We'll be advertising it through a few channels, but look out for that sign up. If you have any questions about signing up, questions for the board people, I can point you in the right direction, or you can just talk to me. But I'd encourage you, if you have anything you'd like to speak with them about, if you have any concerns within the school that you think they might be able to help with, or even if you're just kind of curious about like the role of the board, what they can do, what it's like to be on the board, anything like that, really recommend you to look for that sign up and sign up in a lunch only, but a lunch for early December. It'll be about 10 participants, but there will be lunch provided, so that's something to look forward to. So yeah, that's all I have. Keep an eye out.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Item number 7, communications. Mrs. Anderson.
We've had just a couple since our last meeting. Mia Lipton asking for input from an administrator about the pandemic, and Jeanette Ketchpole regarding the process for parents to volunteer.
Thank you. That takes us to item number 8, consent agenda. We have item 8.1, payment of expenses. Do we have any additions or deletions? Seeing none, consent agenda passes as is. Moving on to item number 9, matters for discussion. 9.1, superintendent report. Mrs. Fitzpatrick.
Thank you. I just have a few items I'd like to mention this evening, and then also just note that during the items for finance and facilities and bond from Ms. Abella, I'll be taking those items as well when it's that part of the agenda. But I wanted to just note, and again, this has been shown on our social media and shared on our social media, and we also wanted to point it out. Deb Anderson, who is a member of our Board of Education, a longtime active community member here in Royal Oak, was recently named the Thomas F. WOAK Award winner with the Historical Society here in Royal Oak. Ms. Anderson has been a longtime member of the community. She is very active, was very active in the PTAs at the schools where her daughters attended. She's a longtime member of the Board of Education, the Royal Oak Schools Foundation, as well as the Historical Society. And the award is given in memory of Mr. WOAK, and it states that his beliefs were rooted firmly with a desire to preserve the history of this great town. And so the recipient of this award also has that trait and characteristic, and obviously brings a lot to our community. So I just wanted to thank Ms. Anderson for all her service to Royal Oak, and also just give her congratulations on your award. So. Also, we've talked a lot about support for our students and for our families, and this is National School Psychology Week. And so I read, during the week of November 6th through 10th, schools throughout the United States will celebrate National School Psychology Week to highlight the important work that school psychologists and other educators do to help children thrive. This year's theme is Let's Grow Together, inspired by the importance of both personal and shared strengths in our growth as individuals and as school communities in every season of life. And so certainly the school psychologists that we work with here in Royal Oak provide many services and support, and during our Launch into Learning, we're advocates to share what they know with fellow staff members and with us as administrators. So just wanted to thank them for their service to our district and recognize them this month.
Thank you. Well, I would just like to say, knowing Mrs. Anderson for quite some time as well, and sharing her passion for the community, I can't say how many hours that you spend serving this community, and just kudos and a well-deserved award to you.
Thank you. You surprised me, but thank you very much. And it meant a lot because honoring Tom Wardock, and he was just a fantastic contributor to our community, so it meant a lot getting that award. So thank you very much.
Item 9.2, curriculum instruction. Dr. Ioannis.
Thank you, Mrs. Van Heidsma. I want to start off by talking about our mentor-mentee program. I'll share the video shortly. But similar to what Ann and Ben spoke about earlier with our Launch into Learning, we're trying to leverage our staff members to help support each other. They have also taken a lot of time to upgrade and improve our mentor-mentee program. And really the purpose of this, again, if we think about retention and how to hold on to our good teachers, we have to also provide some opportunities for them to learn and grow throughout their first few years. So I want to call our attention to the Insight into Curriculum video series that will focus on
The purpose of the mentor-mentee program is really designed with the idea that research has shown that teachers are more successful when they're supported. They have higher rates of job satisfaction, efficacy, and retention when they feel supported and part of a teaching community. Mentees are really supported by the mentor-mentee program in two ways. First, they attend meetings that are designed to induct them into Royal Oak, to make them part of our Royal Oak community, to make them feel supported with some professional development and learning that is really aligned to their biggest needs. And secondly, we assign every new teacher a mentor that is there to really support them on a day-to-day basis with whatever needs that they might have, no matter how big they are or how small they are.
The benefits of the mentor-mentee program are enormous because you're coming from another district or another position, or this is your first position, and the mentor-mentee program really provides support for all those teachers coming in to understand the district, to understand where things might be in the building and how our curriculum works and how our committees work together. So it's really a holistic approach to really welcoming someone into Royal Oak Schools.
The benefits of the mentor-mentee program is that you have someone to bounce ideas off of and to help you get a layout of the school. Every school is run so differently. They have different programs, they have different PBIS models, they've got different ways of recording data and meetings, and so it's really nice to have someone there that can break it down for you, and it's not so overwhelming as a new teacher.
I think mostly it's just having a connection with somebody else in the building. We talk a lot with our students about meaningful relationships, and the mentor-mentee relationship is just having that meaningful relationship with somebody that you have within your building.
And it's been super important for me. I know that I have somebody that I can come to all the time. I think I have come to her every day with a question about something, whether it's planning or behavior problems or talking to her about a student that she had prior. I can pretty much come to her with anything, and she always has an answer for me.
The mentor-mentee program has supported me as a new teacher in Royal Oak by honestly making me feel seen and having more peace about the profession that I've chosen. There's so much relatability between teachers and learning from a mentor that I'm able to not feel so stressed out or overwhelmed or have early burnout, because my mentor is there to keep me pushing, to keep me having that sense of drive that I need as a teacher, especially starting. It's just a lot and can be overwhelming, but having her be my biggest cheerleader and coach, like outside of family support, it's everything that I need.
I've had the opportunity to have mentees that are both new to teaching and have not been new to teaching, and they face different challenges. But some of the common challenges that they have faced are just, how are they able to use things in the building, whether that's copying or getting an email. I feel like that's always the first few things that teachers struggle with. But once the year goes on, looking at curriculum, what exactly are we using in our classrooms? How are we getting students to best learn material?
I feel like being a mentor really benefits me because it's great to get a fresh perspective on things. So when Evan asks questions about something, it makes me rethink how we do something or why we do something, and it ends up with really enriching conversations with a fresh perspective. So I think that that's an invaluable piece of being a mentor.
My mentor has helped me become a member of my school community by encouraging me to talk to other teachers, not just her. And because she knows so many teachers in the building, sometimes it'll be the example of asking another teacher to come in and we problem solve and work on ideas together. And so that's been really nice, and it's been welcoming for me because now I'm introduced to more teachers than just my mentor teacher. So that helps me feel more included and welcomed in the building.
I truly think of Stephanie as my bridge to everything that I'm currently involved with in the school community. I've actually had the privilege of sitting in her classroom during my first year, where I've gotten to meet and interact with students that are now my own students. So you've literally helped me build connections in that way, and you've gotten me involved in several other school-related activities and have shown support in those activities as well. And you've just been crucial in helping me build connections and build relationships with staff and kids. So I really appreciate that.
Our goal is that mentees that go through the mentor-mentee program become part of the Royal Oak community and part of their building community, that they feel valued, that they feel supported, and really that they're set up for long-term success and to be part of our community as teachers for years, if not decades to come.
So as you can see, while we do focus on student engagement in the classroom, we're constantly looking for ways to increase student engagement. We also know that teacher engagement is important too and plays a role in the retention of wonderful teachers. So we hope that this mentor-mentee program continues to provide these engaging opportunities. I also want to thank our mentor teachers out there. With so many new teachers and new staff, I know some buildings we've had to double up on mentor teachers. So the teachers that are out there with the experience and that opportunity is very much appreciated. So I do have a couple quick updates. So today at ROMS, what took place was a math learning lab. Over 25 teachers from 8 Oakland County school districts visited ROMS today to take part in this math learning lab. And as part of that math learning lab, 3 teachers from Royal Oak Middle School, Carrie Derminer, Kate Chambers and Megan Pethke were the 3 teachers that volunteered their classroom, opened up their classroom for these 25 teachers to come in from outside of our school district to observe their teaching and instructional practice. The focus was building thinking classrooms, which is really focused around increasing student engagement in the math classroom, providing students with opportunities to think. A lot of times in math, we think about just sitting and working on a math problem, but with this building thinking's classroom approach, it really focuses on students talking about their thinking, sharing their thinking, and then providing feedback to each other. So what it looks like is students working in groups on large whiteboards with problems, math formulas, not the traditional way of just formula and then problem to problem. They're really taking time to start with analyzing, thinking, and sharing. So it was interesting and exciting to see that. It was a full-day event, something that we should also be proud about here in Royal Oak, being a district that is welcoming other counties, other districts in the county to learn more about this approach is a wonderful thing. Also, our 4th cohort group for trauma-informed leadership is going to begin in the month of December. As a reminder, we already have 3 full, complete cohort groups, which I think totals about 105 staff members that are fully trained in trauma-informed leadership and work. And this next cohort group will have 32 teachers, staff members beginning in December, with cohort 5 and 6 taking place in June and August. So we're excited about that work. We have a team who is working on, a team of teachers really and staff members that have worked on putting together the presentation. We had definitely support from Shenandoah Cheffalo, but part of what she wants school districts and organizations to do is build that capacity within. So we're currently doing that. The teachers and staff members have worked hard to put together these presentations, and we're excited about kicking that off here in the next month of December. Last thing, I just want to bring your attention to item 9.2.1, which talks about, we talked about it at our finance and facilities meetings, last finance and facility meeting, but this is focused on the K-12 Connect online tutoring service. And that is item 9.2.1.
Does anybody have any questions? Mrs. Anderson?
The math program that was at ROMS, is that something that we came up with? Is that an ISD program, or how did that come about?
Yeah, so the Math Learning Lab program itself is a program that Oakland Schools supports. They do this same model in many content areas, but the Building Thinking's classroom model, those 3 teachers, a team of teachers, went out to the state of Indiana to do some professional development and learning around the Building Thinking's classroom approach. So I believe it's year 2 now, so it's kind of growing throughout that math department. And again, the focus is on growing and increasing student thinking and kind of that student discourse, which is one of the most important things. But yeah, Oakland Schools definitely has math consultants, ELA consultants that kind of mirror this same math learning lab. And I think it was an honor that they chose us, and they saw some wonderful things happening when they sent the math consultants out, and they wanted us to share it with other counties or other districts within our Oakland County. So very proud of that, for sure.
Well, I have to say, seeing the video on the mentor-mentee program, I think it says a lot. I think it's such a great program for both parties, right? You know, just to be able to have that relationship, and I think, you know, learning from each other in many ways, I think is really just a really great program. So, and we did discuss the K-12 at Finance and Facilities, so thank you very much for that conversation last week. Can I have a recommendation, please? Ms. Jasinski?
Resolved that the Royal Oak Schools Board of Education hereby approve the expenditure of $192,000 for the K-12 Connect virtual tutoring program for the 2023-2024 school year.
May I have a second? Mrs. Anderson, can we have a roll call?
I will vote yes. Trustee Van Heitzma?
Yes.
Trustee Jasinski? Trustee Haynes?
Yes.
Trustee Cook?
Yes.
And so the motion carries.
Thank you. 9.3, Finance and Facilities and Bond, Mrs. Fitzpatrick.
Thank you very much. As you know, we do have a second board meeting of the month, which is dedicated to finance and facilities, and many topics that you see on our agendas are discussed at length in those meetings to really take a closer look at not only our finances and the funds that we have coming in. Many of the projects that Dr. Ioannis spoke about are paid for by grant funds, and that's become a full-time job in and of itself. We're very fortunate to have those, but it takes a lot of oversight from Isabel and her staff. But tonight we have 3 projects that we did discuss at the Finance and Facility meeting. The first one, I'll draw your attention to 9.3.1. It is part of our planned roof replacement cycle. It is now Weather Tech Consultant Group being recommended for a 2024 roofing replacement project over at Oakland Elementary School. We received 10 bids on this particular job and selected the lowest responsible bidder. The work will be completed in the summer months when the building is not in use, and we will also shift some summer programs that typically would take place at Oakland Elementary and host them at other schools across the district, much like we did during the major components of the bond. The only roofing project next summer is this one over at Oakland, and it will be funded by our sinking funds, which is an initiative that was supported by our community.
Thank you. Can we have a recommendation? Mrs. Anderson.
Resolved that the Board of Education authorizes the superintendent to finalize and sign a contract with KJP Roofing and Sheet Metal in the amount of $676,000 for the 2024 roofing replacement project at Oakland Elementary. Additionally, 10% contingency to address any unforeseen conditions.
Thank you. Can I have a second? Mrs. Haynes, can we have a roll call, please?
Trustee Van Heitzma?
Yes.
Trustee Jasinski?
Yes.
Trustee Haynes?
Yes.
Trustee Cook?
Yes.
And I will vote yes, and the motion passes.
Thank you.
I just want to clarify that Weather Tech Consulting Group is the group that gives us the recommendations that we use when taking a close look at all of our roofs across, and the resolution was for the actual company that will be doing the work. Item 9.3.2 is another one of the last phase. I know we say that often, but it is the last phase of the 2017 bond work that was approved by the community that November in 17. We've completed the bond work that was planned, but when there are remaining funds, we must continue to spend down those funds until they're completely exhausted, but only for the things that were approved by the community during that bond initiative. So we went back and took a close look at the projects that we were able to complete under the major portion of the bond, and then some other things that might be related, but we thought maybe could wait. And we're at 2 very major projects that fit in that category. The kitchens over at Adams Elementary and Keller Elementary will be renovated next summer. Most community members would know that Keller and Adams are former junior highs and middle schools, and they weren't really built for elementaries that we use them now, and the kitchen is really that last place where we want to make some changes to fully embrace an elementary concept and need. We also will be renovating the offices at Adams and Adams ECC. During the major parts of the bond, some of our other schools received updates to their office, but both those programs would need those updates at this time. One more portion of this project will be adding an elevator, a lift to ROMS in the gymnasium so that we have access to the second floor weight room that's hosted on the mezzanine. Presently, the activities that are on the mezzanine are brought down to the main floor for access by the students, but we want to complete the project by allowing students to be able to work out or use the materials in both areas. We did discuss the bid issue, or the bid documents that were issued prior to the F&F meeting, received bids of very good coverage in all of the categories, and we're very confident in the recommendations that we're bringing before you this evening for these projects.
Thank you. Mrs. Cook.
Resolved that Royal Oak Schools Board of Education approve the attached contract awards be made for 2024 capital projects in the amount of $2,114,403 base bid and alternates number 1 and M3. Also contingency in the amount of $211,440. These projects funding can be from bond fund, sinking fund, property maintenance fund, or general fund as deemed appropriate.
Thank you. Can I have a second? Mrs. Haynes, can we have a roll call, please?
Trustee Jasinski?
Yes.
Trustee Haynes?
Yes.
Trustee Cook?
Yes.
I will vote yes, and Trustee Van Heitzma?
Yes.
The motion passes.
Thank you.
And lastly, item 9.3.3 on your agenda is the recommendation for the purchase of a new Kubota, a word that I've become more familiar with, but we know them as the small vehicles that are used in our maintenance department. It's a way for our workers to be moving things around the campuses. Some of them are quite large, and so these small vehicles come in handy. One of their most significant uses, I would say, is part of our cleanup, snow plowing and snow brushing for all of our schools and parking lots, and they play an important role. We know there's a large wait list, a very long wait list today for these types of vehicles, and so we're very fortunate to be at a point where we're making a recommendation for another one for our maintenance workers to give them the tools they need and hopefully be right up there in line to receive one.
Thank you. Can I have a recommendation, please? Ms. Yusinski?
Resolved that Royal Oak Schools Board of Education approve the purchase of one utility vehicle, a Kubota, in the amount of $32,356.97. Purchase is being made utilizing cooperative bid pricing.
Thank you. Can I have a second? Mrs. Anderson, can we have a roll call, please?
Trustee Haynes.
Yes.
Trustee Cook.
Yes.
I'll vote yes. Trustee Van Heitzma.
Yes.
Trustee Jasinski.
Yes.
This motion passes.
Thank you. Moving on, item 9.4, staff and student services. Mr. Walensky.
Thank you, Ms. Van Heitzma. I have a pretty brief report tonight. Item 9.4, excuse me, for your 9.4.1 for your approval this evening is a list of our personnel changes since we met last month. And on that report, you will see 2 resignations, 1 retirement notification, and 8 recommendations for hire. And I'll just provide you with a brief summary of that report. We had 2, I say mid-year resignations. It's not mid-year, but once the school year starts, I refer to them as mid-year. One from Jamie Blake, an AST teacher at Royal Oak Middle School, and her resignation should have been on last month's report, but we inadvertently left that off. And another from Leanne Robinson, an AST teacher at Oakland Elementary. Both teachers have resigned for other positions or positions with other school districts. We have 1 retirement notification from Kelly Stanessa. Kelly was an elementary classroom teacher for the district since 2002, most recently serving in the capacity as an instructional coach. So Kelly has resigned after 21 years of service in Royal Oak. We don't like mid-year retirements, but it's not a classroom position we have to fill. So 5 of the 8 recommendations for hire are for paraprofessionals, which is good. Those are positions we always need to fill. And 1, an ASD teacher for Oakland Elementary to replace Leanne Robinson. 1 speech and language pathologist for Keller Elementary to serve children in need of speech services. Also listed on the report of the new hires, as Ms. Fitzpatrick mentioned earlier, is a recommendation for hire of Ashley Phillips for the role of DEI coordinator. As you know, this is a very important role to us. We speak about it often. And we put quite a bit of scrutiny, quite a bit of thought and planning into who we ultimately selected to recommend. And I'll just talk briefly about that. We held 2 rounds of interviews. There were a total of 13 people that served on 1 or both panels representing teachers, administrators, parents, students. Also represented was the JEDI Committee, RAMPA, and 2 Board of Education members. We then held a 3rd and final interview last Monday, October 30th, and Ms. Fitzpatrick, Ms. Isabella, Dr. Ioannis, and myself were on that panel. And after we conducted that 3rd interview, we did a very thorough reference check on her previous employment, most recently in Berkeley. Ms. Phillips was not able to be here this evening, but we did want to include her on tonight's agenda for your approval so she could start after the Thanksgiving break. And we'll invite her back next month to be introduced more formally. And I'll just tell you a little bit about her now and introduce her formally next month. But Ashley earned her bachelor's and master's degree in music education from Hampton University in Virginia. She's been a public school teacher for 15 years, most recently for the Berkeley School District, where she also played a very key role in their DEI initiatives. Ashley has been described by her colleagues as kind, caring, empathetic, highly organized, and highly dedicated to this work. So at this time, I'll let you move on that recommendation, on those recommendations.
Thank you. Can I have a recommendation, please? Mrs. Cook?
Resolved that the Royal Oak Schools Board of Education hereby approve the regular personnel changes as listed. See attachment.
Thank you. Can I have a second, please? Mrs. Haynes, can we have a roll call, please?
Trustee Cook.
Yes.
I'll vote yes. Trustee Van Heitzma.
Yes.
Trustee Jasinski.
Yes.
Trustee Haynes.
Yes.
The motion passes.
Thank you, and thank you, Mr. Walensky. I look forward to meeting Ashley next month, so I'm very excited to meet her. Moving on, this is our second opportunity for public comment. Same rules apply as before. Thank you. Jamie Porhola?
So clearly I've made my point as to why I have come here today to address the support that is needed for autism, not just at the middle school level, but I hear it doesn't get much better at the high school level either. And, you know, it's really hard when you have conversations with so many people throughout the district who understand that what we did at the elementary level, which is smaller, does not mirror what it looks like at the middle school. My child currently has 2 Ds, 2 A's, and a C for grades. And we're not, you know, even done with this part of the school year, this first semester. And there's such a lack of oversight. When you put a teacher who has her classroom to manage a child for 1 hour a day, when he went from having a resource teacher where he could spend sometimes 10 to 20 hours a week in her classroom reviewing assignments. I mean, it's the comprehension that when you start like losing in a child like Hunter, that's when everything starts to go downhill and he becomes a child who can't graduate with a high school diploma, but rather a certificate, because he's been able to complete work at a lack of not normal as his peers, because he's just writing answers down without that comprehension of really what does that question mean and what kind of answers can we give. There's no oversight, and it's been beyond frustrating. I've had multiple meetings, nothing changes, everything's a joke. There's no real solutions, and then on top of it, there's no ASD teacher. And that's a violation of all these kids' IEPs. You're only allowed to have a short-term sub. You need to have a certified ASD teacher in the classroom. And then I come here to also address the resignation of Ms. Blake. I can't wrap my head around how we allowed this wonderful teacher to leave our school district. I've had meetings with our special education director. I'm not fond of her. I sat in a meeting where she railroaded Ms. Blake. She was not supportive of her colleague. She was not understanding of her colleague. She wanted to blame everything on her. Everything was Ms. Blake's fault. And that's not the case. The case is there's lack of programming. There was lack of support for my child. There's lack of parapro support at the school. And that really upset me to sit there. I've never sat in a meeting with anybody in the district and had them just throw a teacher under the bus like they did. She literally supported her right out the door. And I just can't understand how nobody tried to have meaningful conversations with her as to what are the real problems and allow her to have those conversations to freely say what the issues are. I mean, we had Jason Zielinski leave. We've had 2 teachers in the ASD programming leave. I think there's a common denominator as to why they may be being pushed out of the school district. I've heard that it's hard to find special education teachers. So why are we not working harder to keep the teachers that we have? Because they're important to parents like us. Let me tell you something. Having 2 children in the district who fall under the special education, it's important to have relationships with those teachers. And even the parapros. I rely on those daily conversations. I don't get communication from my child. He's verbal, but I don't know. He doesn't want to talk about school. I have no idea what goes on in his classrooms. I get teachers who write back, well, he's having his struggles. Do you have any suggestions for him? And it's like, I shouldn't have to come up with those suggestions. There needs to be more oversight. There needs to be more looking into the programming for these children because they deserve it and they need it. And so that's where I leave everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Lydia L. Shakana, sorry.
I'd just like to speak a little bit about my experience with my son, having Miss Blake there and then not having her there. In the few short months that she was with us in the school year, as we're speaking about diversity and equity and inclusion, she took our kids to the fire department, the police station, the public library. She took them on a field trip and community-based instructions where they go to different stores and shop and learn life skills. As of right now, the only thing they're continuing with that is the community-based instruction. She's facilitating connections and relationships outside of the school, in the community for these kids where they're ignored or they really struggle. And I find it so sad that in advocating for our kids, she was pushed out of this district. I think it's a great testament that even after she resigned, she's still here to speak to all of you. I mean, I don't know many teachers that come back and address the board and try and get the concerns out there. There is an issue, a big issue. 7 out of 8 of your new hires are for the special education district or the department. There are a lot of frustrations being echoed among many special needs parents, and now at his school they have a long-term substitute. You guys have signed contracts with somebody. I don't know if everybody knows that, but there are signed contracts to have a replacement for her come in sometime in December. So between now and then, they have a long-term substitute who is very sweet. She's a wonderful woman, but I believe this district placed her in the wrong role. She's not meant to be in an ASD classroom. And finally, where is the special education department? I mean, there's all of these departments on here. Everybody's come up to speak. There's students here. At the last board meeting, you had a ton of people come to speak about the special education department and the issues. Why between then and now is there not somebody here? Not even the director, the second in command, the third in command, just to give us updates on where the special education department is. I mean, to echo her sentiments, where's the oversight? And finally, to wrap it up, like she said, if it's so hard to find replacements for these ASD teachers, why are we just letting them walk out the door? Quality teachers. And finally, I would just like to say, I think it's really sad that I typed this up hoping that I was going to be able to cross out the sections about nobody from special education coming here, and that didn't happen. There's nobody here, so.
Thank you. Jamie Blake?
Hello, I'm Jamie Blake, the former middle school ASD teacher that was discussed tonight and at last month's board meeting. I'm here tonight to speak about that. I would like to quote one of my former parents from last month's meeting. Her leaving is not about money. Anybody that knows her, she's ingrained in the middle school and helping all children, not just her special education students. It's not about the money. I think we've heard a lot about the main theme of retaliation that's going on. I was a student council advisor, swim coach. I sat on committees. I ran after school clubs. Most importantly, I taught there. My class created Blake's Brew Crew. Roms was my home. So why did I resign? I can only speak to my experience. This year, I was bullied, unsupported, and disrespected. I was told if you go away, the problem will go away. I was asked if I ever considered a leave of absence. I was called rude and off-putting to my face. So you can see that I felt that retaliation everyone spoke of. It's no surprise that the special education department has fallen apart since Jason Zawatsky left. I absolutely loved my job and was supported 100% by him and Kristen Meldrum. As board members of this district, I suggest you take time to talk to your teachers. I'm certain you will see there are many more feeling like I did. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Item 11, board comments, liaison report. Who do we have? Mrs. Anderson?
Well, I've had the pleasure of participating in a couple events at elementary schools with Trustee Jasinski. We put on costumes and we went to trunk or treat at Oakland and handed out a lot of candy. And last Saturday, I was able to participate or help out a little bit, though they put me at the craft table, the children's craft table, and I'm not so sure I'm that crafty, at the vendor fair at Keller. So it's been a lot of fun. I enjoy getting out in the community, and it's been great. And I think the vendor fair is coming up at the high school as well.
The high school craft fair is November 18th, Saturday. So it's the first year it's been back since the pandemic. So I know they're looking forward to coming back and providing that opportunity to the community to have a place to come again. So very exciting. Anybody else? Okay. Item number 12. Meeting closed. Thank you.